The FBI says there were defendants were allegedly involved in illegal betting on the performance of players on the Charlotte Hornets, Portland Trail Blazers, the LA Lakers, and the Toronto Raptors. With me now from Vancouver is Andrew Pace, founder of inplayLIVE, a sports betting education company. Thanks for being with us, Andrew.
Thanks for having me. Happy to shed some light here.
This investigation spanned years and involved professional players, a coach. When you saw the news break this morning, what did you think?
Not again. We really want a clean landscape when it comes to the sports betting world and professional sports, and it seems to just never be the case.
From what you've learned of what actually transpired or is alleged to have transpired in this case, how might the players influence sports betting?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and understanding it as the public and as sports bettors. The first thing is information is paramount when it comes to successful sports betting, and how people acquire that obviously can then cross some of these lines and boundaries that we have. So in the case of Terry Rozier here, we have a game from 2023 with the Charlotte Hornets where prior to the game he tipped off sports bettors to essentially say that he's not going to be playing the entirety of the game and he's going to stage an injury. So what you do as a sports bettor, if you had this information, is then you can wager on him not to do a whole series of things. So not to score a certain amount of points, rebounds, and assists, and then obviously profit from it as a result. This same case here, they're looking at the time, Damon Jones, who was essentially an unofficial head coach of the LA Lakers. And what he did was he tipped off that key players weren't playing in certain games, one of those players being LeBron James. So there's a soft spot when it comes to this information where the players know who is or is not going to play in a certain game, but the public and the sports books, they don't know yet. And during that time, the line is vulnerable. So in this example that I'm giving, where LeBron James, might not end up playing, the Lakers might be favored in that game. But then once he's out, they could be big underdogs. So what that gives is sports bettors the opportunity to get what's called closing line value and gain an edge against the sports books.
Andrew, am I the only one watching this story unfold thinking these NBA players are already earning presumably millions? So why do they need to game the online sports betting system? Does this just reek of greed?
Well, there's two cases here, and the second one involves Chauncey Billups, the head coach of the Blazers, in a poker scandal where he essentially is a celebrity luring in these big fish, high-rolling poker players to come and play with him. And then they're using shuffling machines and glasses and X-rays to relay information off-site and then relay it back to a quarterback at the table, ultimately leading to these fish, as they're called, losing millions of dollars in a rigged poker game. These are two separate cases, the Rozier one and the Billups one. The Billups' career earnings are north of $100 million. He's the current head coach. Wow. Of the Blazers, and I'm sitting here thinking, why are you biting the hand that feeds you? It baffles me.
$100 million, don't tell me a year. This is like a multi-year contract, please.
Career earnings.
Okay, but still, staggering amounts of money that he's getting from the NBA, and yet he's betting against that same organization.
Precisely.
Is this the sort of thing that people can get away with who are online sports betting regularly? Is there a lot of cheating of the system that's allowed? Not allowed, but happens?
It's an interesting question. So the first thing is, a lot of sports bettors that are out there, they'll justify their losses saying that games are rigged, when in fact 99.9% of situations are not. There's an organization, there's a series of organizations, but US Integrity being one of them. And what they see is they see betting patterns. So in the case of Rozier here, where he's announced an injury, all of a sudden all this money starts coming in and they're going, what on earth is going on here? And in those circumstances, that information is what can lead to the start of some sort of allegation of wrongdoing happening in one of these spots. So it's something that's being actively worked on by not just the NBA, all major sports leagues, because let's keep in mind, these sports leagues are sponsored by a lot of these major sports books. So there is, to an extent, ties between it all. Mm-hmm. But the integrity of the game is paramount, and what we're going to see, we already have seen it, but what we're going to see with this news is just a real focus on making sure that players, number one, know the rules and players adhere to those rules. We may also see the change in some markets. So in the case of Jonte Porter, who is tied into all of this to some extent, a scandal from a year or so back, we're going to see players like him that maybe aren't the high-profile guys potentially where sports bettors are unable to wager on as many markets of some of these, I'd say, less prominent players that can maybe don't influence the game as much as we might think.
Andrew, this is such an extraordinary case. Truly appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much.
Andrew Pace is the founder of inplayLIVE, joining us from Vancouver today.